Hey everyone, thank you guys for attending today's webinar hosted by Cosvox. My name is Noah Barnett and I run marketing here at Cosvox. And I'm so thankful that you guys joined us today. I know you guys took time out of your schedules during this busy year-end fundraising season to learn how you can effectively promote your year-end campaign. I hope what we've put together today is going to be helpful for you all. We've taken lessons from the past 7 years here at Cosvox and really condensed it into a 30-minute presentation, so it's packed full of insights. Also, many of the things that I'm going to share today are things that I've actually implemented myself as a fundraiser. Prior to Cosvox, I ran growth and fundraising for an international relief nonprofit, and then also helped consult a few other nonprofits on how they can really build a sustainable donor program. And so some of these tips that I'm including here are actually tips that I use myself and things that I've seen others, customers of Cosvox, others that I've worked with, friends, colleagues that have used these practical tips to really help elevate and promote your year-end fundraising campaign. Before we get started, just a few items of housekeeping. If you have any questions throughout the presentation today, feel free to drop it into the questions pane of GoToWebinar. We'll actually be getting into those questions at the end of the presentation. I'll spend 10 to 15 minutes really answering your questions. So questions that you have about your year-end fundraising campaign. So be sure to stick around for the duration of the webinar because we're going to dive into those questions. But don't wait till the end. Feel free to drop those in throughout today's presentation. In addition, I know that you might not catch everything we say and want to reference this later. So following today's presentation, I'm going to be sending you the recording and the slide deck. So you'll have all that information. So if you can even take notes later, or you can share it with your team or your fundraising committee, whoever is really working together with you to run your year-end fundraising. So sit back, listen, think well about the content, and we're going to dive in. A little roadmap on where we're going. We're going to talk quickly about why year-end matters, but many of you already know that. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's shifted in fundraising and how you need to think differently about how you adapt your fundraising strategy to accommodate the shifts and changes that we're seeing, not only in fundraising and nonprofits, but just how people shop, find, buy, and connect and support the causes they care about. We're also going to talk about segmentation. We think the most effective way to promote your year-end fundraising campaigns successfully is actually through the art of segmentation. So I'm going to talk through segmentation, talk through a few ideas on how you can segment your community of supporters and how you can inspire them in different ways to engage with your year-end campaign. We're also going to talk through some multiple channel promotion tips. We're going to focus on 4 channels, focusing on email, social media, direct mail, which many of you might be surprised about, but just because we're an online fundraising company, I still like direct mail, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a few ways on how you can leverage it to be effective for your campaign. We're also going to talk about peer-to-peer fundraising. We think this is an incredible tool for you to use throughout your year-end fundraising campaigns to really help you circumvent all the distractions and the noise that are bombarding your community during the holidays, and especially during giving season, not only from nonprofits, but from other brands that are trying to get their attention. We'll give you some free resources. We'll have a live Q&A. And then we'll also, at the end of the presentation, Rob Wu, who's the CEO of Cosvox, just wanted to come on and share a little bit more about Cosvox and how you can leverage our community-driven fundraising platform to actually enhance your fundraising campaigns this year. So here at Cosvox, for those that don't know, we're a community-driven fundraising platform allowing you to easily create, manage, and promote your fundraising campaigns without more staff or increasing your budget. Make it really easy to get started, design your campaign pages, and really create a central landing page and giving page for your year-end campaigns, your annual fund campaigns, Giving Tuesday, or even events, giving yourself a dedicated place where you can track progress and you can invite people to be a part of the campaign. It's really perfect for any type of fundraising campaign. You can reach new donors with the power of peer-to-peer, create mobile optimized donation pages, and streamline your online fundraising and reduce your workload. something I know that was really thankful or I was appreciative of when I was a nonprofit fundraiser. I actually was a customer for almost 5 years prior to joining. And so I know that the power of Cosvox is really helpful to help spin up different campaigns and even segment different campaigns for various partners or donor groups that you might be trying to engage during year end. But we talk a lot about year end. But the question always comes up for us here at Cosvox is like, why does year end fundraising matter? Like, why is it any different than other times of year? Fundraising is something that you and I are probably focused on year round. Why is year end? Why is it such a big to do during the year end season? And really, the fundamental fact is just that like 30% of giving occurs during end of year. And so during the months of November, which we're in right now, and then into the next 45 days through the end of December, is when 30% of charitable giving actually takes place. And so a third of giving happens in just the last 2 months of the year. And 11% of giving actually happens in the last 3 days of the year. So between Giving Tuesday on November 28th and the end of the year, December 31st, there is so much opportunity for people looking for ways to invest in organizations and causes. And so because this is such an important time, it's why you have to think really critical about how you can present a campaign or an offer that's going to be compelling to your community and really inspire them to support your organization during year end. Many organizations are doing prospecting during year end. So they're reaching out to donors outside of their community, trying to engage them in their cause and almost move them from investing in your organization to investing in their organization. There's lots of competition for supporters nowadays. And because of that increased demand on supporters' attentions, they're tending to block out things. And what we're seeing is that really the world that we fundraise in has just fundamentally shifted. And it's not bad, it's actually changing all the time. And this really comes down to three significant shifts that we've seen that as you think about your year-end fundraising, we hope you consider on the implications of these three things on your year-end fundraising plans. And that really comes down to people are more digital first and always connected than they ever have been before. The digital revolution has come, and the adoption of smartphones and connectivity, and that being the default choice for many of your supporters and those that are in your communities you serve and you're trying to engage in your cause, is becoming digital. And so it's more important than ever to know that so that you can engage with them effectively in a way that provides them an opportunity to connect with you and support your cause, but also share that with their friends, families, and community. The next thing is kind of ties into that is that we're relationships and recommendations driven. We're onslaughted with messages all the time from brands, from Netflix, from YouTube, from news outlets. Everywhere you look, someone is trying to vie for your attention. And that means your supporters' attentions, those that are in your community that you're trying to connect with during year end. And so more and more people are building what I call kind of a moat around themselves, blocking out all the noise. And so instead of trying to filter messages as they come in, they're just blocking them out. And what they're turning to is their relationships, so their friends, families, and communities for information, for understanding what they should invest in, where they should go out to eat, where they should travel. And so it's before it was a mass market kind of direct response type environment where you could get people to respond to mass messages. And what we see is more and more it's focused on kind of this moat approach where people are looking inward and looking into their communities and their friends and families for recommendations on what they should do. Even if we just look at things like the last time I went out to eat without checking Yelp to see what people thought about the restaurant before I went, and I was influenced not to go to restaurants or to go to restaurants based on that recommendation, just shows the power that it's not just friends and family, it's also the community, people that are like-minded, we're surrounding ourselves with that help shape our decisions. And this isn't just how we shop and buy and find restaurants, but this is increasingly impacting how we choose the causes we're going to support. And so we'll share something a little bit later, but what we found is 85% of people prefer to be asked to support an organization by a friend or family member rather than the organization. And so more people are seeing that as a preference over organizations like the ones you guys work at as the asker or someone that's asking someone to support the cause. The third thing, which I've already mentioned a lot of, is just the increased competition for attention. And this isn't just during the holiday seasons, this is year round. And so that is causing kind of a shift that really requires you to rethink how you go about fundraising. And so what we see is that the strategies that worked previously, where you were purchasing lists, cold calling, direct mail in kind of the traditional sense where you were just buying prospecting lists, or even just taking anybody and everybody you could think of and just blasting out a letter to them during year end, or even advertising where you're just putting up billboards or putting out newsletters or putting ads in your local papers if you're a community-based organization. It really prioritized the idea of renting attention. And so the more attention you could rent, the more successful and the more money you could raise, the more donors you were able to receive. And that was just kind of the cycle. That was the playbook. And it was all about budget and reach. And today, what we see because of the shift is that it's all about building relationships. We're living in the relationship economy, and it's something that changes the things that work versus the things that don't work anymore. And what we're seeing with our customers and in our work over the past 7 years is really that story and referrals, social media, not just social media as a platform, but rather the ideas behind social media, the connectivity that we have access to, whether that's, how many messages we send a day, how we keep up with people through Instagram stories or even Snapchat for those that are on the younger side of the spectrum, or Facebook, looking at our feeds. It's how we connect with people. It's all about relationship building and also about friends. Like before there was this whole idea that, you didn't want to be friends raising, you wanted to be fundraising. What I see is that now fundraising is the only way that you can actually fundraise. People are looking for places that they can have a relationship with, that they can trust, that they feel loyal to, that they feel as though what they're doing actually makes a difference. And so you capture that essence and put it into your year-end fundraising. That's how you're going to be successful, and not just in your year-end fundraising, but year-round. And we feel like, I love this quote by Seth Godin because he talks about this idea that some organizations will thrive from the increased chaos and some will be unprepared and some will merely fight it and lose. And what we're trying to do is help you thrive in this chaos. And so we've actually developed a new methodology, something that we feel like nonprofits, fundraisers like yourself can really leverage as you think about promoting your organization. And it's really about a community-driven fundraising approach. And so the idea is that you have this community that you're trying to engage. They may have never heard of your cause. They may have heard of your cause. They may have attended an event or subscribed to your newsletter. But your job is really to focus on inspiring them to become supporters. And then once someone's a supporter, you really want to activate them to be a fundraiser for you or an advocate. How can you create a supporter base that's so excited about your cause that they share your stories with their community online? They talk about you to their colleagues and at their workplace when people talk about what they're into, what they're invested in. They share it with others when they go out on Friday nights or they meet up with their family on Thanksgiving. That's the type of supporter base and community that you want to build up. You want to turn your community into advocates for your cause because we feel as though this relational aspect of the relationship economy is really going to drive in a sustainable opportunity for your organization to grow. And so we've built this framework, and we're going to focus right now, as we talk about promoting your year-end campaign, really on this idea of inspiring and activating and rallying. How can you actually take this framework and apply it to the various channels that we talked about? And we love this graphic. It talks about fundraising has never intended to look like this, where you just blast out messages and like hope for the best. We believe with community-based fundraising, it's really about being personal, human, and delightful. We feel like this is really the new way forward as a fundraiser. So we've talked a little bit about why fundraising matters and how the environment has really shifted over the past 7 years, 10 years even. And what we're going to really focus now on is segmentation. And then we're going to talk about practical tactics that you can leverage in various channels. So segmentation is basically the approach of taking your community and dividing it up in a way that makes sense. And we're going to talk about a few of those ways. And really what segmentation allows you to do is to target specific messages to specific people that have context around them. And so instead of just blasting those that are in your community, instead you're segmenting them so that you can speak more specifically to them and ask them to be involved in a way that feels more personal, it's more relatable, and it conveys that you actually care about the relationship. We feel like segmentation is actually a key aspect of being successful at promoting your fundraising campaign. And a lot of nonprofits that we work with are smaller, they're community-based organizations. And regardless of the size of your nonprofit, donor segmentation is an important strategic process. So whether you only have 50 donors or 50 supporters or even 100 email subscribers or 1,000 or 10,000, it really is something that you can think well about. And here's a few ways to do that. Or here's why. We feel like by segmenting your donor list, you'll be able to customize your tone and information to a smaller target audience. And so when you're writing an appeal, you're not just saying, oh, we're trying to do this, you should support us, and blasting that out through all the channels. You're really speaking directly into the individual and asking them to engage with you and inviting them in. You can focus on more of an inspiration message and a specific activation call to action to encourage donors to get involved. The other thing you can do is you can personalize the communication, build rapport, credibility, and trust. You can also ask for donations strategically. And what I mean by this is that instead of asking all your donors to come in and support you and hope for the best, you can actually target supporters and ask them to contribute in a specific way. What we used to do is actually ask for an amount that was a little bit more than the donor's last gift. And what that allowed us to do was be very specific in our call to action on how they could take action and show them the impact that they could have by taking that action. So there's 6 ways we're going to talk through really quickly on how you can segment your donor base. Again, this is a presentation that I'm going to send over to you after the webinar so that you can use it, you can share it with your team, and even reference it as you think well about your year-end fundraising strategy. So number 1 is how your donors were acquired. So a lot of organizations like yours probably acquire donors in a variety of ways, whether that's they attended an event, or they're part of your board, or they were recommended to you by a few others, or they donated through your website. And so segmenting based on how they were acquired can allow you to actually contextualize the message in a way that makes the most sense for that supporter. And so if they attended your race, or there's a supporter that gave online, you can communicate to them in a different way based on the relationship of how they interacted and engaged with your organization. The second segmentation opportunity is giving size or last gift amount. And so this is what I was referring to earlier, where you can actually segment and ask people to be involved in a very specific way. We're going to talk about the use of email and the best practices for that. And this becomes more important, especially when you're using email as a way to promote your year-end fundraising campaign. First-time donor versus returning donor. So this is kind of the dating concept. So how you would talk to someone that you've been hanging out with or that's been engaged in your cause. What they know about your organization and the way that they want to be communicated with is different than the way others want to be communicated with in your organization. Oops. Sorry about that. And so this is really helpful when you're writing copy, you're writing messages, or you're trying to segment your supporter base even for direct mail. The fourth idea is donors giving frequency. So how often do people give? Is it someone that gives frequently and then they skipped a regular donation? How can you ask them about their contribution? If they gave last year and they give every year end, communicate to them in a way that you know their intention is to give, and you're just presenting the opportunity for them to do that. And so thinking well about how you actually distribute your messages to each of these segments is going to help you increase the overall funds you raise. And so segmentation takes a lot of work. However, the payoff is huge. The fifth one is the engagement level of the donor. This ensures you're presenting the right opportunity based on past engagement. And so how can you ask specific supporters to come to an event or to promote your cause or to give a certain amount based on just their level of engagement? How deeply are they involved? And you're presenting them the right opportunity based on their relationship they have with you and your organization. This is also important because it reminds you that there is this, even though you're speaking to a larger supporter base or a larger community, whether that's 10 or 10,000, you do have a specific relationship, a unique relationship with each of your supporters that is various and different. And so what segmentation is really doing is segmenting those into larger buckets that you can then communicate with more effectively. Demographics is one that's a little bit more difficult if you don't have the tools in place to help you provide demographic information. But this, for organizations that do have that, which I know some of you are larger organizations, demographics is another way that you can communicate, because different demographics respond to different types of messages. And so we know that millennials are more purpose-driven, where baby boomers are more about return on their investment and legacy. And so how can you talk to them in a way and message what your offer is and what your appeal is for year end in a way that most resonates with those generations? And we really believe that when done effectively, donor segmentation builds trust and loyalty with your audience. And we feel like this is what fuels success in the relationship economy and really the foundation of community-driven fundraising. So now we're going to dive into kind of spending the next 10 to 15 minutes really talking about how you can specifically promote through various channels, and tips that are basically foundational for how you should effectively promote your year-end fundraising campaign and help you circumvent the noise and stand out amongst the other opportunities that your community can invest their time in during the year-end holiday season. So the first thing is email marketing, and we really believe it's more powerful than you think. We've seen organizations get huge percent ROIs on their email marketing programs, and because it's still something that is a universal tool of communication. However, it's getting very crowded, and so you have to be more tactful in email than you used to. Before, you would send emails and you get 50 to 80% open rates every single time. We are way beyond that. And some organizations we work with, or we've heard from, that are customers using CosVox's platform, we're seeing 5-15% conversion rates or open rates. And how do you actually increase that? How do you stand out? I got probably 112 emails today. How do you stand out in my inbox? How do you make sure that when you're communicating through email and promoting your cause, that people actually open your emails? So there's 4 components of a successful email, and we're going to kind of run through these. The first thing is email targeting. And so email targeting is crucial. So this goes back to segmentation. How do you make sure that the people you are sending the email to, you have a contextual idea of what they're expecting from you? So if someone expects that you're sending them an email and you showcase that in how you send the email, you're going to be more effective than if you just kind of blast people out and hope for the best. That's the difference between having a conversation and spam. And it's a very, very thin line between those two things. The second thing is really focusing on the subject line. So I've worked with nonprofits for a while now, and one of the things they love talking about is how much effort they put into their copy. They're writing their stories, writing their letters, getting it edited, and then they complain that it's such a process to build this out. And it's something a lot of fundraisers we talk to really fret about. And the interesting thing is that I've never actually spoken to a fundraiser that said, hey, to get my emails written or to get my emails opened, the only thing someone's going to be able to see is who it's from and what the subject line is. And what I tell fundraisers is that you should spend 50% of your time on your email copy and 50% of your time thinking about subject lines, and who the email should be from based on the context of the segment. And so here's a few tips. Keep it short, don't overuse capitals. Posing a question is already helpful. So I believe I sent an email today to some of you and said, "This afternoon, question mark." And so what I was doing was I was presenting urgency and also a question that promotes response. And so thinking well about how you can differentiate your subject lines and also test different things that work with your audience is going to be really helpful. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to send emails from a real person, not from your organization. That might be something that's kind of different or new or something that seems kind of a little scary, like who's going to put their name on this, or why would people want to get an email from somebody? However, the idea of email is very personal. It's your inbox. And so when you get an email from a real person versus a brand, it sets a different expectation that someone emailed me and that they're expecting a response. That's why they sent me a communication piece. And whereas a brand, I can ignore a brand more easily. And so it's something that works for a lot of organizations. Some it doesn't. And so this is something you should test. But if you haven't sent emails, especially during year end from real people, I would highly recommend that you or try it out, because we feel like messages that come from one-to-one and feel more one-to-one are more effective than a brand speaking to a email list or an email segment. The next thing is the content. This is something that we believe is also important, but not as important as the next part, which is the call to action. Being very careful with how many call to actions you have in your email is crucial. And so I receive newsletters all the time from nonprofits and fundraising appeals. And the ones that are more engaging are the ones that have a very clear narrative of the email. It's personal. It feels like it was sent to me with intent. And then there's a clear call to action. Having a single call to action that you are encouraging them to take is going to increase the likelihood that they actually take that desired action. And so when you think about email and think about year end, think about what is the single call to action that you want people to take. The other thing I would encourage you is that your email doesn't necessarily need to deliver the entire message. What I always joke about is that the email is just a tool to get them from a distraction-filled inbox to somewhere else. So it's the vehicle that they get in that you want to drive them to somewhere else, whether that's your dedicated fundraising site, whether it's a story that you're sharing on your fundraising site, or maybe a Facebook post that you want them to share. Whatever it is, you're getting them out of their inbox to go do something, and usually you're moving them from a distraction-filled environment to an environment that they have a clear presence to and can take a further call to action. And so don't feel as though you have to communicate the entire message in the email and just include a donate button. It may also be better for you to write a short email that has a very call to action to go read a story or read more on how your organization is making a difference because of help from the email receiver. And that might be a more effective strategy. The next thing we're going to talk about is social media. And social media is one of those things that kind of gets floundered back and forth about whether it's an effective tool for nonprofits. And what we see is it's really a non-negotiable. Nowadays, more and more people are connected via social media, and a lot has changed in 15 years. And now there's a lot more platforms and places where people engage. However, there are some that stick out more. And what we're seeing is that Facebook still stands alone as kind of the key platform for nonprofits to engage in, because most nonprofits that I've worked with, their audience is most engaged in that platform more universally. And it's a platform that people understand and you can invite people into, and they're consuming it every day, multiple times a day. And so you being able to connect with them in that place is very helpful. In addition to that, more and more people are actually discovering social initiatives via social media. And so it's something that you can really tap into and connect with. The other thing that I think is most important about social media is to make sure that your social media plan or approach isn't just as another mailbox that you're dumping things into. And so social media was designed to be connecting and sharing about what's going on in people's life and what people care about. And so if you use it outside of the context it was designed, the platforms will not be effective for you. And so what we encourage people to do is really focus on sharing stories on social media. Nonprofits that are most successful on social media are the ones that embrace the idea that the platform is designed to share what's going on. In addition to that, people share stories with others on the platform. And so your strategy on social media isn't just to get someone from your post to your website donation page, but rather what is effective on how you can reach new donors is actually sharing stories that are worth sharing with others. And so I believe the most effective engagement that someone can take on a Facebook post on behalf of your organization is to actually share that with their community. And so if we go back to what we were talking about, the shifts that are going on, is that there's people are building moats around themselves. And so really the only thing that's getting in is messages shared by their friends, family, and community. And so they can introduce your cause to their community in an effective way by you sharing stories that then they can promote out. Videos are also hugely effective, and I highly encourage you to use them if you have the capability. Again, it's really about sharing stories in a way that gets people to share your stories with others. So even asking people to share the post in the post, they're more likely to share it. And so if you give them a clear call to action to tell them the story and be like, share this with your friends and community by clicking the share button and not go donate or go do this. Again, you're trying to extend the reach of your stories in a way that is focused more on showcasing and inspiring people to become supporters of your cause rather than trying to convince them to give. So the last platform the other platform we're going to talk through is direct mail. And so we believe direct mail is something that, if done right, can actually be really effective. And so personalization really goes a long way. So direct mail letters can easily be personalized to recipient and signed by a real person, both of which increase ROI. And so what we're seeing become more and more effective is simplified mailings. And so sending out a very personal letter that, again, is written one-to-one, even though you're writing it and printing it to send it to 50 people or 10,000 people, write it in a way as though it's being penned to one person. Use language that's very specific to one person. Make sure that person feels as though they're reading a letter that was intended to be read by them. That's a way that you can be more effective by using this channel. And less people are using it because there's a preference towards digital. And so mail can actually be an additional touch point that you can leverage during year end to help drive kind of a multi-channel approach to your fundraising efforts. So sending mail is important. I still believe that. And I think it's important for you to complement that with your digital presence. So a lot more people that are receiving mail are still going online to donate. And so giving them a very simple place to go and see a fundraising page or a donation page that's customized for your year-end campaign is crucial because it helps them know that they're supporting the campaign that they read about in the letter. The fourth thing that we see really effective in today's relationship economy is peer-to-peer fundraising. And we really because it's all about relationships in today's economy. 85% of donors prefer being asked by friends and family to make a donation. And this really aligns with this idea of a community-driven fundraising approach. And so you've inspired supporters to support your organization, and now you can actually activate them to be fundraisers on your behalf, even during year end. And so when you ask supporters to support your campaign or to make a change in the world that you're fighting for during year end, it doesn't stop there. People that give are excited and eager to support causes that they're invested in. And so actually calling them to action and activating them to be a supporter on your behalf of your organization seems simple, but it's something that's people in your community or that support your organization may have never thought about. One organization that we've worked with recently here at CauseVox is the Motherhood Collective. And the Motherhood Collective is a local maternal health organization that focuses on serving a community of 70,000. So still a small city, broad kind of demographics and all over the map, and they're trying to serve this community. They came to us and talked about how they had 200 volunteers and they were really running programs and serving the community, but they never could figure out how to fundraise. And what we encourage them to do, and what they ended up doing for the past 2 years, is actually creating a campaign that activated those that support their cause to go out and actually advocate for their organization on their behalf. And it's been incredible to see the results. They've actually been able to encourage 29 people this past year. The previous year it was 19, I believe. The first year they raised $7,000 from their community. The second year they raised $24,000 from their community. And what this really looks like, especially during year end, is basically kind of hiring your supporters to be advocates for your cause. And so one of the women that support the Motherhood Collective is named Trish, and she was able to come here and actually create a page that was on behalf of the organization and then promote that to her friends, family, and community. She was able to tell her story, why this organization matters and why you should care about it as well. She was able to encourage 15 people to support this cause. And so someone asked at the beginning of the webinar, how do I reach new donors during year end? What we see as the most effective way, especially in today's relationship economy, is to actually activate your supporters, even if it's just your board members, to go out and speak on behalf of your organization. And the fact that we're always connected, and it's easier than ever to kind of email, message, promote your what you're excited about to your friends, family, and community. It's easier for people to do this. And you as a nonprofit can actually empower your supporters to do this and invite them to do things that they never thought they were able to do. No one kind of raises their hand except for a few people in the back that say, hey, I'm a fundraiser, I'm excited. There's only a small amount of people in the population that are really excited about fundraising. But when you invite someone and inspire them to become a supporter and then activate them and give them a platform to be able to showcase their support for your organization, they're usually more than welcome. They just need to be shown that they can do it and equipped to do that. And so that's exactly what our community-driven fundraising platform does here at CauseVox. And like I said, Rob Wu is actually going to show us a quick demo at the end of the presentation to really showcase how you can leverage our platform to help you enhance your year-end fundraising campaign. So stick around for that. Lauren talks about this, and she said, this is the executive director of the Motherhood Collective. She says, we take pride in our authentic engagement, and CauseVox really allowed us to turn these real-life connections, their community, into tangible dollars. And not only that, what she's seen is that it helps build a sustainable community of supporters that are rallying together to help enhance and grow the organization. And so, like I said, year one, they raised a little bit over 6,000. Year two, they raised 24,000. It was just because they were able to build the expectation and encourage others to get involved and see tremendous growth and sustainability in the funding of their organization. There's a few other opportunities I've included in here that you can dig through when I send the presentation. They're extras, but I wanted to include them just so you had them as you think about how you can promote your year-end fundraising campaign. Things like social advertising, PR and media, and then also partnerships, thinking about how you can leverage partnerships with other organizations in your community or that are focused on the cause that you're fighting for in a way that's effective for everybody. We have a new fundraising guide that's coming out tomorrow, which is really focusing on how you can actually plan your entire December to be an effective kind of month for you to run a fundraising campaign. And so what I'm going to do is we have it early, and we're going to send it to you tomorrow morning so that you have this as a free tool and calendar for you to be able to plan out your year-end fundraising campaign. I'm really excited about this tool because I think it's a perfect guide and calendar to help you think well as a benchmark of what you should be doing every single day throughout the month of December to help increase the amount of support you can garner during the month of December. In addition to that, we actually have the opportunity for you to launch a year-end fundraising campaign for free with CauseVox. And like I said, Rob's going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I do want to take a pause before Rob comes on and joins us and really ask what questions you have. What questions kind of came up throughout the presentation, or are there specific things that you've been thinking through as you think about year end on that I can be helpful on? So I know, I think it's Masha or Marsha. Pardon my pronunciation of that. She asks a question that really focuses on how do we separate ourselves from the crowd when trying to reach out to new donors? And so there's really a few things that I would recommend. A lot of it I already kind of talked about, but I'll just reiterate. And I think there's three things. One is that you need to be human in your fundraising. And that's kind of a silly statement. Be human in your fundraising. What does that even mean? And what we've seen is that organization, like the art of nonprofits, and even those that are really trying to come together and make a change in our world that matters to them, is all about coming together as people and advocating for that change. And so fundraising is really just a representation of that, or a vehicle for you to be able to accomplish that. And so when you're fundraising, it's not about you convincing someone or your organization being like, look at all the good things we've done. You should support our organization, but rather inviting people to be a part of your organization, showcasing how they can be a hero in the story, and doing that in a human way. That's why I always encourage people to send emails from real people, because people give to people and people come together to make changes in our world. The second thing is focus on storytelling. A lot of organizations just ask for money without really giving any rationale or case for why. And what we see is that stories can really help differentiate your organization from others. We've been communicating with stories for years and years and years and years and years. And stories are really what connect us. Stories are what helps us be more relatable to others. Stories are really what engage us in a cause. And so that's something that you can effectively leverage. The third thing, which really drives back to the idea of being a community driven fundraising strategy, is empowering your supporters to do something. People want to do something, especially in our day and age when there's negative news all the time, no matter where you look. And so people are, just thinking, can I actually do anything that makes a difference? There's just so much going on. And so your organization can really be a tool for them to see that they can do something to make a change that they're excited about and they're eager to support in our world, and make that change with you. Those are the three things. So really focusing on the idea of being human, telling stories, and then empowering your supporters to do something, inviting them in to be fundraisers and advocates for your cause so that they can invite their friends, families, and communities to support your organization and the change that you're working together to make in our world. Hopefully that's helpful. Hey, Kate, she says, how far, or as far as sending email solicitations for the holidays, what are the best practices for times and dates? I've heard so many different days and times. What's the general rule of thumb? Kate, we're actually going to be including a lot of that in our December fundraising plan to give you kind of day by day ideas on when you could send emails. One of the things that I see is that I would highly encourage you to see your emails as not solicitations. So I'm just going to push back on that a little bit. I think the idea of positioning them as solicitations already positions them in a negative, convincing way. That's just a slight word thing, but just helpful as you think about these emails. Is there really a way for you to communicate to your supporters and invite them to support your cause in a very specific way? As far as times and dates go, what we saw as effective as at our organization is we send an email once a week leading up to the last week of the year, and then we sent 3 emails during the last 3 days of the year. So on the 29th, the 30th, and 31st, we would send communication, and even sometimes on the 31st, we would send a second communication. We would segment those emails so that they were very personalized and didn't feel like we were just swarming them with communication. And so we might not just focus on asking in every email, we might actually use a story that we wanted to kind of bridge to supporting the organization. So showcasing impact. We'd also just thank our donors. I sent out an email yesterday to our community here at CauseVox about the idea of 2 words being really powerful, and it's thank you. A lot of people ask, and not many people thank. And so I think if you just focus on saying thank you in addition to presenting a very compelling case for support, that's going to help you differentiate your emails as well. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions that have come in. So Rob's going to be joining us now and really walking us through how you can use Cosvox to power your year-end fundraising. And I think Rob's already joined us now. So Rob?
Hey Noah, thanks so much for the amazing presentation as usual. I love the tips around kind of how you can use social media, how you can be human, as well as what we need to do today in terms of year-end fundraising is to really connect with our audience and to really just thank them and appreciate them, and also to make sure that we're good stewards with the resources that they give us. So, as we're thinking about year-end fundraising and as you're putting your plans together, there's a lot on your plate. As Noah mentioned, there's direct mail, there's social media, there's fundraising appeals, and there's stories, and there's a lot of things that you have to worry about. So what we do here at Cosvox, in order to make it really easy for you guys, as you guys are putting together all these different fundraising techniques, is to help you create an easy way to direct your audience to a place where they can take action for you, or to a place where they can feel compelled to share as well as to participate. So what I want to do now is just show you a brief 5 to 10 minute overview of Cosvox, what we can do on our platform in order to really power your year-end fundraising so that you guys can get more donations, as well as so you can get more traffic and more engagement from your audience. So there's two parts to what I want to show you today. So let's go with the first part here. So as you create your year-end fundraising campaign, what you can do with our platform is you can easily use your community to drive more donations to your fundraising site. The one thing that you shouldn't do for year-end fundraising is to just direct your audience to a generic donation form. The issue is that when we see a lot of organizations, when they just do all this hard work, when they create these stories, when they create these mail campaigns, when they create these perfect social media posts, and what ends up happening is that they're just sending people to a generic donation form. What happens is that you lose out on that people focus. You lose out on the impact, and you only focus really on the transaction. So I think a lot of us know about kind of a boring donation page where it's just a whole bunch of form fields that a donor has to fill out. It's not a really compelling experience. So what we do here at Cosvox is we actually empower you the easy ability to create as many different campaign sites as you want to for year-end fundraising. So for example, this is a small nonprofit based in Maryland, and they created a campaign around keeping winter cold. So they were able to create and design a campaign site that looks like and feels like their organization, as well as tells a story about something that's really interesting and engaging, but also allows them just to engage their network to get people to create personal fundraising pages as a way to participate in the event. For example, Nora Kelly over here, similar to some of the examples that you saw from the Mudhood Collective, Nora here, she was able to go into the Polar Bear Plunge campaign site and create her own personal fundraising page, and then share it with their friends and family to drive more donations and traffic to CCAN, the organization that you're looking at right now. So what you can do with Cosvox is you can easily do this. You can leverage your support base. You can use them to cut through the noise so that you're not the only person communicating. You're not the only person fundraising. You're actually leveraging the people that you know in order to get a more authentic message to your prospective donors. So that's how you guys are going to be successful. So in order to create a campaign site like this, you can easily do it on our platform. So what you can easily do is just log into your Cosvox admin interface, and it's free to try. There's no money down, no credit card required, and it also comes with a free 21-day trial, as well as a free plan that's available. And once you go in, you can easily set up your Cosvox campaign site. And we have an easy design editor built into our platform. For example, if I wanted to design a campaign site that looks like one of the nonprofits that's using our platform today, I can easily just upload a logo. I can even change the header background color so it matches and looks like the existing logo over here. And I can also just point and click and upload media without having to talk to my web designer or talk to my web developer. I can essentially make it look like and feel like my organization's look and feel. So super easy to use, there's no coding required. I can even change our CTA buttons So it matches the specific call to action that I want to show. And I can even change our button colors so it stands out just a little bit more. So everything on CauseVox is just point and click, just like this. You can even put in your own stories so that people can really read and understand what you're trying to fundraise for. So everything is just on screen. There's no coding required. And you can easily set this up in just a few minutes. When it comes to running your fundraising campaign as well, we do have an easy settings area that you can easily use. Now, for example, one of the greatest features that a lot of people like to use is just to show a progress bar. So as donors are donating to you as they are participating in the campaign, it's really beneficial just to show your donors how much has been raised so they can become part of your fundraising community. So you can easily enable a progress bar on your fundraising campaign, easily change your fundraising goal so that it automatically counts the amount of donations being raised. And once I'm all set, I can just go to my live campaign site, and from here, it gives me like a live preview of what has been created. We can also do a CauseVox too. Let me publish this real fast so you guys can actually see it. There we go. So this is our live campaign site that we just created in just a few minutes. What you can also do is you can get supporters to create these personal fundraising pages for you. So the setup process for them is super easy. They can just do this themselves, so you guys don't have to worry about it. They just go into your CauseVox campaign site, and once they want to create a fundraising page, they are taken into an easy 3-step process to do it. So you upload a photo, they can put in their name, fill any kind of custom fields that you put in. Then from here, we automatically pre-fill their page with a lot of info, such as their fundraising page link and their fundraising goal, so they don't have to worry about it. And the very last step here is for them just to put in their own story that shows up on their personal fundraising page. And they can just use one of the stories that you put in instead of having to start from scratch. And the very last step will be for them to share their fundraising page so they can get their first donation as fast as possible. Once they're all set, the page is complete, and then they can easily go back and manage sharing, for example, so they can copy their link and share on social media. Or they can post an update to their personal page. They can also join teams and browse your campaign site very easily. What we've seen a lot on CauseVox is that the organizations that use this style of community-driven fundraising, they tend to raise twice as much as the campaigns that just rely on their own donor base. So for you guys, especially for year-end fundraising, taking this way of fundraising is going to generate a lot more donations, as well as going to help you really cut through the noise. Now, if you guys are looking for more of a detailed walkthrough of CauseVox, feel free to ping us directly. You can always contact our support team or our sales team at support@causevox.com. If you go to our website over here, we do include tons of resources, including the ability for you to sign up for a free trial. So you can always just sign up and poke around. And if you're looking for our pricing, we do have lots of different plans, highly affordable. And for example, we do include a free plan with no money down. Essentially, you don't have to sign up with any funds or any contracts. You can just sign up, set up, and start fundraising. For our month-by-month plans over here, like a light and standard plan that come with a little bit more features, it does come with a 21-day free trial, so you can use this for year-end fundraising. There are no contracts. You're just paying month by month. There's no commitment, and you can always pause your account or upgrade and downgrade at any time. Now, if you have any questions on CauseVox, feel free to contact us. You can always click on this contact sales button, or on the bottom right, there's this little dialog button here that you can click in order to send a question to us directly. We'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one demo with you or pass along a few resources, as well as a talk through which pricing and plan will be the best fit for your organization. So feel free to give us a shout, send us a question. We'll be happy to talk shop, talk fundraising strategy, as well as to figure out how CauseVox can help. Thanks so much for your time. I'd love to hand it back to Noah just to wrap up our webinar today.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Always appreciate kind of seeing how easy it is for fundraisers to be able to leverage our platform to create compelling fundraising campaigns, especially during year end when it's important to lower the amount of friction that it really takes for people to engage, and also giving people a very clear place that they can share with their friends, family, and community. Again, if you have any questions about what we shared today, feel free to reach out to us at support@cosvox.com, or you can reply to the email I'll send you tomorrow morning that will include the slide deck and the recording of today's presentation. Thanks again for investing the time today, and we just hope that your year-end fundraising campaign is a success. If we can help at all, feel free to reach out. Enjoy the rest of your days.